In this presentation, I'll be solving a mathematical problem involving geometry and number patterns. The question I'll be solving is, what is the maximum number of pieces formed when a circle is divided by 6 straight lines drawn from end to end? So there's my circle, and in solving the problem I'm going to be using a table. This table will help me arrive at the answer. Now I'm going to draw my first line from end to end, dividing the circle into 2 pieces. So they're the 2 pieces that have been formed, and no cuts or intersections have been created because I've only drawn one line. So now I've drawn my second line, and there's one new cut or new intersection. So there's one additional intersection there, and I've got an additional 2 pieces, pieces number 3 and 4, and so now I've got a total of 4 pieces with 2 lines being drawn. So now I've drawn my third line, and there are 2 additional intersections or cuts drawn by this new line, and I draw the new line so that the number of additional intersections increases by 1 each time. And there's 5, 6, 7. Now there's a total of 7 pieces. So now I've drawn my fourth line, and there's 1, 2, 3 additional intersections or cuts, and that's an increase by 1 from what I achieved previously. And there's an 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th piece there. So now there's a total of 11 divisions or 11 pieces. So now I'll draw a 5th line, and I'll draw that 5th line in such a way so that an additional 1, 2, 3, 4 intersections, an additional 4 cuts are created, and that's 1 more than previously. And as a result of drawing that 5th line, I get 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I get a total of 16 pieces being created. I now draw the 6th line, and I do that in such a way so that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an additional 5 intersections, an additional 5 cuts are created, and that's 1 more than previously. And so that means I get 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I get a total of 22 pieces now being created as a result of 6 lines being drawn through the circle. Therefore, the maximum number of pieces created with 6 lines is 22. The solution can be obtained using an easier method. Instead of drawing all 6 lines, creating and counting the maximum number of pieces, the solution can be arrived at by establishing a pattern and extrapolating. The number of pieces produced with each additional cut increases in accordance with a consistent pattern. When we draw 1 line, we create 2 pieces. When we draw 2 lines, we create 4 pieces. Now that's an increase of 2. When we draw that 3rd line, we create 7 pieces. That's an increase of 3. And when we draw that 4th line, we create 11 pieces. That's an increase of 4. These increases follow a pattern. Those additional pieces, the number of additional pieces created with each line, increases by 1. Now that means when we draw a 5th line, we're going to have an additional 4 plus 1, which is an additional 5 pieces. Now we already have 11, so when we draw that fifth line, 5 plus 11 is 16. So drawing that fifth line, we should see the creation of a maximum 16 pieces. Instead of seeing an additional 5 pieces created when we draw that sixth line, it'll be 5 plus 1. We should see an additional 6 pieces created when we draw that sixth line. So 16 plus 6 is 22. So the maximum number of pieces is 22. That's the same solution arrived at previously. So by recognizing and applying a pattern, a solution can be arrived at without the fuss of drawing all those lines. Now, of course, some lines have to be drawn so that the pattern can be established. But once that pattern has been established, then it can be extrapolated so as the solution can be arrived at much more easily. And that concludes this presentation.